It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Well, you know what that tune means. It's time for us to talk all things relationships. And the universal state of grief has overcome us in, in the midst of COVID-19, this pandemic that we're in, whether it's over people we've lost, loved ones we've missed, or even milestones that we haven't been able to share or celebrate. Grief is still, however, one of the most personal emotions one can experience, and there are so many ways that it can manifest.
Yeah, so true, Zo. Now, it's Monday, and that means we're obviously talking all things relationships. And today, we're asking, how has the COVID-19 pandemic affected the process of grieving? Now, it's a big topic, and here to discuss it all is clinical psychologist Asha Dullabh, and she's joined by Yusuf Daniels, who we've been chatting to earlier in the studio. Of course, we're going to weigh in on the topic. Firstly, Asha, let's just welcome you to this chilly Monday, of course, but we're always warmed by your education and your presence here. So thank you for joining us.
And this is a very important topic, the discussion of grief.
Yeah.
I believe there are various stages to it. A lot of people know the 5 stages, but you said there are many levels to it. For someone like myself that's not aware of the different stages of grief, what can we expect with these?
So the stages of grief are denial, anger, depression, bargaining, and then acceptance. But like I say, there's many emotions that one experience in between those levels, but that's just a lovely guideline to really get in touch with one's emotions on all of those levels.
Okay.
Yusuf, you mentioned earlier in our chat that we had with you, and I appreciate you for your honesty, but you're mentioning a recent passing of your mother, and absolute condolences go out from everyone at the studio. But is this something that you can potentially identify with regards to these phases? And I mean, where do you come to terms with when you're dealing with something like this?
So yeah, my mom passed away on the 29th of December, just after the Baxter show that I've done. And it was also due to COVID-related illness. But you know what I found? I'm generally a very strong, mentally strong person. That is who I am. But that hit me so hard, I was not ready for it. And all the circumstances around it, like you couldn't go into the hospital to see her, so I didn't find closure. So that, for me, I'm probably going to deal with it for a long time. But I feel that people always say, are you okay? Are you... I think just leave people be. Let them deal with it on their own time, I believe. I don't know, am I right in saying that?
Yes, I think what he's saying is like, let's give attention to this grief process. Let's not try to escape it all the time. Let's embrace the feelings, the pain, the suffering that goes with it. We need to actually give it attention.
But it doesn't also seem like it's something that anyone is preparing for. I mean, there's no rules in this game. And Yusuf, like you said, I mean, a man with a family, you're a protecting figure, you want to stay strong. This is inevitably going to rock you. So how do you then deal, which is something that I think we all, in our own certain way, somehow are just trying to adopt that sort of strategy, if anything. What was that process like for you? I mean, firstly, understanding what's going on, and then how do I now carry on with life?
You can never prepare for this. Never, ever, especially, I don't know, death in the family, but a mom, I don't know, there's just a special bond between a mother and a son, I feel. But guys, and for the men out there especially, it's okay to cry. Yeah. I sometimes just do something and I think of her and I'll drop a tear. It's just a reaction. You don't even, like I said, you cannot prepare for it, but it is just so real. And sometimes I just let go. I just let go on my own there, and I just, okay, get that good chunk out and then just move on a little bit later. But I feel better after that, I must say.
Yeah, it's like giving yourself permission to feel. And I think it's very important to note that every experience is unique. Everyone's grieving experience is unique, so you can't compare it to anybody else. It is a time that is painful. We need to have patience with ourselves. We need to be compassionate, and we need to actually accept as things are as they are in the moment.
Yeah. Now, Asha, what do you do in an instance where a loved one, you can witness their grief and they're in that denial process? How can you best support them to move from denial into that next phase? Or how can you show them you love them, but they're in denial?
Yeah. I think you just need to meet them where they are at, because they are all going to go through the grieving process in their own unique way. And some people can find themselves stuck in a certain stage. They don't necessarily have to go through the stages in a linear way. And we just need to allow people to feel what they're feeling in that moment.
Okay.
I love that. Well, look, Asha, we are going to be chatting to you a little bit further on this exact topic and kind of dive a bit deeper. So bring those comments through as well, because we can always entertain it, always here for the advice. But Yusuf, I want to say thank you so much for sharing your story with us.
It's a pleasure.
Seeing you walking in your stride, hustling every single day, and it's such it's a magical thing to see and witness. So thank
Thanks,
you.
guys.
Thank you.
Do you have any sort of suggestion from Mzansi out there? I mean, it's always good to have someone that we can relate to, someone that's a man, and for you, someone that's actually honest. Advice in terms of just dealing with any sort of grief right now in this process, especially during the pandemic. For Mzansi, I'm sure you might have some good advice for them, right?
You know, guys, just deal like she says, deal with it at your own pace. That's important. Don't worry about what everybody else says. It's you. Nobody will ever know what you are going through or feeling. So take your time with it. But you know what? After all of this, there's a time where you come and you just have to, like I said, you have to wake up, dress up, and show up. And one day we will all not be here and life carries on, but you will always have those amazing memories that you created with that person. And that's what's keeping me going right now.
Oh, man, I'm here to celebrate that and celebrate the memories. I love that, Yusuf Daniels. Thank you so much for joining us
Thanks,
again.
guys.
Have a beautiful start to your Monday, and we are here to start the rest of your Monday. Check this out.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Well, this is your Feel Good Breakfast Show, Expresso on S3. On Mondays, we talk relationships, and Asha Dullabh, she is with us as we continue the conversation around processing grief, especially during the times that we're in right now. Asha, it's been a very important topic. A lot of people are, they're not going through all the stages, or they are going through the stages, but they don't reach that point of acceptance. And I think there's a lot for us to discuss this morning.
Yeah.
I think acceptance alone also relates to how we accept other things in our life, other challenges. It really goes back to a pattern of our general acceptance of life in itself. It is also, after acceptance, it's about finding meaning and purpose to life. So as I said earlier, there's different stages. And going back to work is a very challenging time. I think people need to be very easy on themselves, realize that it affects the whole human system, so we may still feel a bit fatigued. We may struggle with concentration, we may become emotional at work. So be kind to yourself, be easy, be compassionate to yourself. And I think just take one day at a time.
It really sounds like we do need to sort of honor the stage, especially when we are grieving. What are some of the best ways or mediums or means in which we can express our emotion? I mean, there's a lot of complex emotion we're dealing with, a lot of frustration, to say I don't know where to even begin with. How do we best express this emotion? And what's a great outlet for that? Because I'm sure there's a lot inside that we just need to come to terms with.
I think very important in during this grief is to cry. That's an outlet on its own. To journal, to write your story, to write your feelings. Of course, speak it out to someone if you can. If you need professional help, that's also available. Also meditate. That's also a beautiful way to express and just to go into a silent space. And pray. Prayer is something that we all need in this time of grief. So reach out, pray. And connect with other people, even via our electronic devices, our Zoom platforms. Let's try and still stay connected and ask for help when you need it.
And there are ways to connect safely, and I think a lot of people think staying home means staying away from the people that are close to them, and you can do that digitally, you can do that safely. Now, Asha, I know that there are some instances where loss is so profound, it shakes you to the core. Now, what is the process there in terms of being able to realize, okay, this was a life-changing experience? How do you move forward? How do you accept that?
Well, acceptance is one's personal journey, as I said, but change is inevitable, and we need to embrace the concept of impermanence. Nothing in life is permanent, not even COVID. COVID eventually will come to an end. And it's just about really getting in touch with one's life, looking at one's life consciously, finding purpose again, trying to accept every single day in what you are feeling, and just the circumstances around you. It's acceptance is a journey. It doesn't just happen with a given amount of time. It's really just a universal journey where we are just having to embrace deeper emotions.
Oh, I absolutely love that. We're speaking about grieving during this time in the pandemic. I think we've all gone through some form of grieving, whether it be something big or small. But what we're talking about right now is firstly honoring the grief, getting to really understand it, and then hopefully finding a way to accept and then somehow move on with that purpose. We're going to continue this chat very soon with Asha Dullabh, our expert, weighing in on all that is regarded when it comes to dealing with grief right now. So stay tuned for that, because we're coming through. And of course, don't forget to ask us some questions, because yeah, we're here to answer to people. We got you, Mzansi. We'll see you soon.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Yes, you are live once again, obviously for the last time. We're going to be having this conversation with our resident psychologist, and we're talking about grieving during the COVID-19 pandemic and how it's affected your process of grieving. Now, of course, Asha's here to discuss this, unpack it, and help you out. And Wayne, any questions that you've brought through on our social media pages as well. But such an important topic, and I think everybody can identify with this, Asha. It's grieving. It's something that's been taking place for over a year now, definitely, yeah.
It definitely encapsulates everything that we've been experiencing.
Yeah. And Asha, I mean, when I think of grieving, it's more than just mourning the loss of someone, right?
Yes, absolutely. It's mourning of everything. It can be a separation of a relationship. It can be mourning our independence, our dreams, our milestones that we may be missing. So much. I think even adolescents are grieving school, peers, connections, so multiple layers of grief that we go through.
Yeah. Look, I've been saying this a lot in the intro, and I really do mean this, and maybe it's a great time to unpack this, because we have all experienced grief, and the COVID-19 pandemic has brought on grief when it comes to the loss of our old way of life even. I mean, if you haven't lost anyone close to you, that in itself is a big loss, something we grieve, and I think there's a few people that are holding on to that, trying to clench back on that old way of life, and then some of us that are maybe lucky enough to potentially move on with this new way. How do we find clarity in all of this chaos? How do we move on?
Yeah, I think it's the new normal that we speak
Yes,
about. I think
yes.
that we are clenching to the sense of familiarity. That's what makes us feel safe and secure
Yeah.
in this world. It's our survival now at the moment. So, but at the same time, we are learning so much about ourselves through all the grief that we are going through. There's a collective energy of, you know, the memory of our struggles, but also the greater empathy we have for each other, for ourselves, the compassion that's evolving. And our growth. I mean, change brings growth. I think grief gives us the capacity to actually feel to such a deep level that, you know, when we feel pain, we feel the opposite of that as well. So grief gives us that capacity to feel emotions on two different extremes, and we need to embrace this depth of emotion that we have to experience.
I think it's something that you always have this perception of, like, I want to be strong, I don't want to grieve. But it seems like there's so much positive. It's a necessary step and process that we need to go through, of course. Asha, thank you so much for this morning. It's been an absolute pleasure always chatting to you. If you guys have any questions or are struggling with grief and need some assistance, Asha is available online. You can reach out to her. She is absolutely qualified, and you can get on ashadullabh.com as well for anything when it comes to grief. But again, thank you so much.
There we go. Thank you. That email address once again is info@ashadullabh.com.